All right, what's up, everyone? Let's talk today about one of my, or probably my favorite thing to do in training, especially over the last few years. And since it is Sprintember, let's talk about sprinting again and how to more specifically, tough enough for me to say that specifically. Let's talk about programming sprints and how you can put it into your training, where to put it, uh, why we put it there, how much, how often, how many days a week, those types of things, sets and reps. And again, it is really like anything with training, it's going to depend on where you are, where you're at in your journey. If you're just starting out, if you've been doing it for years, if you haven't sprinted since high school and that was 20 years ago, kind of how to do that. So again, it's all going to depend on that. It's all going to be, these are going to be some general kind of programming tips for you to dial in your sprint training, because I think everyone should be sprinting in some form or another. Form or, wow, good day today. Sprinting in some way or another. If you're able, if you're capable, if you obviously you can't really sprint if you don't have legs, but you see those people doing stuff that don't have legs. They're in a wheelchair. They're cruising along a wheelchair. They're doing pull-ups, chin-ups, whatever. So they're not making excuses. So, what's your excuse for not sprinting? Well, you haven't done it in 20 years. So what? Again, start where you're at, meet yourself where you're at, and progress as you get used to it. You become more accustomed. If we are just starting out, we need to make sure your body is prepared. I think I have another video kind of more so on that aspect of how to get started sprinting again if you haven't. So you can check out that on my YouTube page. So we're not going to super dive into that. But again, we're going to talk more so about days per week to do it, how to put it in your training, where to put it, and volume and stuff like that. And so again, if you're just starting out, you're going to want to be more cautious with sprinting. Because why sprint? Because sprinting is the fastest thing we can do. It's going to create a ton of force into the ground, and it's going to be the most neurologically demanding thing we can do, because it is so fast. And again, fast doesn't mean you're Usain Bolt or Gatling or Noah Lyles or any of these freak fast sprinters. It just means you're going as fast as you can. And that right now might not seem very fast, but down the road that could be a lot faster. So as you get by, as you get faster, it's gonna become more and more demanding, especially neurologically, physically demanding too. Again, if you're sprinting right, you might not feel super tired after it if you're doing just like a 30, 40, 50 yard sprint. Once you're more conditioned and prepared and ready to sprint. So it might not feel like a ton because you're not sprinting for that long of a time. And when we're talking sprinting, we're not talking running miles, and we're not talking about jogging and stuff like that. Those are two different things. The people who run marathons and stuff, that is not sprinting. Sprinting is shorter distances at full speed or building up to full speed. Technically, a lot of people claim sprinting is just like max velocity. So that time where you're just going literally as fast as you can for a very, very short period of time. Like some people say the 400 is not a sprint. I technically kind of think it is, like a 400 meters, because you're still going fast. But again, whatever, who cares really, honestly, what that is. But sprinting just means it's going as fast as you can, and it's typically going to be a shorter distance. Think 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 yards, those types of things. Meters, whatever, wherever you are. I don't really care. I live in America, so I'm going to use yards. Feet, not the metric system. So, but again, going as fast as you can. And there's phases to sprinting. So we have, yes, technically you can call a start if you're just sprinting, but I'm not talking just specific sprinting like a track sprinter, because that's just going fast straight ahead. Um, we're talking sprinting for just any general population and mainly athletes. And yes, we can use linear speed. That's one part of that's one form of sprinting is linear, fast, straight ahead in a straight line, or hopefully a straight line if you're not. Some people are not coordinated enough to run in a straight line, which is funny to watch at the beginning, but as they get going and get used to it, then they start getting better at it. You can run curvilinear, whatever you want to call it. Run at different angles, zigzagging, all these different things. Think of sports, you're never really running in team sports. You're not usually running in a straight line unless you're on like a breakaway for a touchdown or something like that. Baseball, you're running around the bases curved. You're taking angles to catch a fly ball. Football, it's cutting, juking, zigging, zagging. Like I think he zigged when he should have zagged there, water boy. Those types of things. Tennis, it's boom. You're not really actually sprinting, but you're speed, cutting back and forth, accelerating, decelerating. Volleyball, those types of things. So it's not always going to be in a straight line. But even if you're not in a sport that's using max velocity speed all the time, that's going to help you. Sprinting is still going to help you because speed is the tide that raises all boats. It's going to make a lot of other things better. It's going to help make you move faster and hopefully be able to take that speed and use it to acquire the skills needed in your sport or be able to do those skills faster and better and more efficiently. It's going to help rewire the neurological system, as I mentioned, because it is so demanding, and make the neurological system fire and work more efficiently, hopefully. It's going to help build strength. It's a good primer, and as we'll talk more about that as we get into where to program sprints and those type of things. So it's going to help. It's going to help everything. So getting faster typically helps a lot of things. But yeah, you see the people who the athletes who are just great sprinters at track speed, but they couldn't catch a football or do anything athletic. So we want to take that speed and not just solely focus on the speed. This is one aspect, and sprinting is that aspect that we're talking about now today. So I'll talk kind of a little bit about why sprinting. Again, how to go, how to build it, how to program it. You want to start with, again, meeting yourself where you're at. If you're just starting out, okay, before I just getting ahead of myself, I don't have anything written down, so I'm just kind of going off the wing. So hopefully that's all right with you guys. But I don't know if anyone's even going to watch this. So, but where was it? Okay, so the phases of sprint. So we have, as I mentioned before, like the start. You could technically say that those first couple steps would be the start of sprinting. Then you get into acceleration, which is just building up. Think of pressing down on your gas pedal on your car. The car is building speed as you gradually press down, or you just slam it to the floor, pedal to the metal there, and it screeches out, and then it starts accelerating and building up. It doesn't just it's not automatically at top speed. Like a drag racer, you think of even that takes time to accelerate. It doesn't just go. That's why they have the 0 to 60 or whatever in whatever 3 seconds or whatever the hype is on the power muscle cars. So think of your acceleration as you're building up. Then acceleration, once we get going, we hit our top speed or max velocity. That's the fastest we can go. And typically this is ultimate elite athletes. Probably they can do it for maybe 3 seconds or something like that. It's not very much. And the more higher conditioned, highly adapted athletes, the better athletes are going to be able to go a little bit longer at the top velocity. It's going to take them longer to get there too. The less experienced sprinters, athletes, it's going to take you shorter to get there to top speed. So that's why you need acceleration to get into top speed. So you're pretty much always going to be training acceleration if you're training top speed, unless you got one of those treadmills that you can just crank up to super high velocities and just jump on it. But even then, a lot of times you'll just fly off the treadmill unless you're accustomed to it. But again, so acceleration, top speed, And then we also need to stop. So we got deceleration. So that's the slowing down. That's how you slow down into cut, into to juke, to stop, to move, to get around a defender, to dodge that person that's in front of you, to not trip over the curb when you're sprinting on the street or something like that. Whatever it is, something gets in your way. The dog runs out in front of you. You stop, you decelerate and stop. So that's an important part, because if you'd be like the Luis Rodriguez in the Mighty Ducks when he can't skate. Yes, skating. So I'd be sprinting on skates, which is a totally different motion and totally different thing is watching hockey players try to sprint. It's on land. It's a sight to behold. A lot of them, because a lot of them don't know how to sprint, because they're that sprinting on skates, and so much different than actual sprinting. But that's a whole other issue, whole other topic. So we need to be able to stop, especially if you're playing sports, especially if you're you need to be able to stop. So you need to slow down, to change direction, to move, to avoid defenders, to not run into things, that type of stuff. So those three main phases, again, you could throw the start in there as well, but that's kind of I just kind of combine that into the acceleration. So we have those, but then that's just mainly for just straight ahead sprinting. We also have change of direction, agility, those parts that can be part of sprinting as well. And change of direction is just more so the coordinated. Maybe you have a spot, a cone or a line or something, you're gonna boom and cut on that. Where agility is more chaos in what's the word I'm looking for? Not coordinated, or not why can't I think of a word? So it's not rehearsed. It's more, I like to use chaos because it's the actual game. That's why we use, for when I'm working with people, I would do it more myself if I had training partners. More games, and you're just reacting. That's the thing. I don't know, reaction. You're reacting to something rather than, you're going to run to that cone and then do a 45-degree cut or 90-degree cut or change direction. That's more change direction is more, a lot of times more not reactive. It's more coordinated, whereas agility is more just coordinated. You don't know what's going to happen for sure. You have someone running a straight line and someone else pop out in front of them randomly, and they got to juke and get out of the way somehow. So that's more more agility, or just playing games where you got to react. Playing tag is the best way to do it. Pulling flags. That's why flag football is so good for kids. It's that reaction, getting away and getting out of the way, and kind of being agile, and kind of boom, changing speed, shifting, jumping to the right, juking to the left, and then hitting speed again, accelerating up. So all these different aspects of sprinting. But let's talk mainly now, we kind of got that stuff out of the way, of how to program it and where to program it, how frequently to do it. So if you're getting older, you know that speed is one of the first things you lose. Speed and power. You can maintain strength for a good amount of time and get it back quick. Speed, it takes a little bit longer to gain back. And speed is like a tree. You want to water it and plant it and watch it grow slowly over time. You don't want to do too much too quickly, especially if you haven't done it in a while or have never done it before. So we want to watch it grow and let it grow, and not burn the stake, so to speak. Oh man, just lost my train of thought again. Not a good day. Just a lot of frustrating crap going on right now with insurance and stuff. So, so programming speed, training it. Okay, so programming it, getting it going. We want to figure out how many days, how we're going to start. And again, you don't want to do too much too soon. If you're prepped and ready to go, then yeah, totally fine. But we lose speed off easier as we age. You probably notice, getting older, it takes me longer to get off the couch. It takes me, oh, I can't keep up with my kids anymore. I can't climb the stairs. And a lot of this has to do with speed and being able to do that. And the best way to build speed is sprinting. So we should sprint. I always say, I mean, you could honestly, the rules are, there are no rules. That's training. You can do as much as you want. You can microdose sprinting and do it every day if you wanted to. But with sprinting, we need to know that we need to rest. We need to recover. Sprinting is not running gassers. It's not running suicides or all these or stair drills or all this stuff that coaches do to make you tired or build mental toughness or whatever reason they are using these conditioning drills to sprint or claim it as speed training and sprinting. It's not. Sprinting, you need to rest. You need to be recovered so you can ultimately give full maximal effort, full intent each rep. So it's boom, and again, general guidelines a lot of times are just 60 seconds rest for every 10 yards you sprint is a good, simple way to do it. As you get more accustomed to sprinting, you don't need that much rest time all the time probably. So if you're sprinting 20 yards, take 2 minutes rest. It's simple, but again, if you don't have a timer, you don't want to time, you're in a rush, you can change it up. You don't have to do exact things like that all the time. If you're running 100 meters, take 10 minutes rest, because you're gonna feel it. You're not gonna be able to go again. You're probably not gonna do a lot of repeat 100s anyway, over and over. Maybe I've typically just been doing like one randomly now for the last few weeks, just to see where I'm at on my Saturday sprint days, where I'm just at the track. But again, how many days a week should you program sprinting? It depends. Again, it depends. I typically think at minimum 2. And again, if you're just starting out, start short. Start with like 10-yard sprints because that's going to feel like fast for you if you haven't done it for a while or just starting out. Just build those short 10-yard sprints and then gradually go to 20 and then 30. And then once you're accustomed and feel good with that, then you can start introducing that max velocity. So start with a lot of more acceleration because you're going to need to, again, you're going to need to accelerate anytime you are sprinting because you're building up. That's that gas pedal again, building up and going. So maybe you start out with 2 days of sprinting, 2 days of short accelerations, shorter sprints. You don't have to do a ton of reps. Again, sprinting, we don't want to, more is not better. Better is better. Again, conditioning, you can, there's a time and place for different stuff, but we want to build speed and we want to sprint. We're not going to do 20 reps. We're probably not even going to do 10 reps. Maybe 10 reps at 10 yards. Yeah, that's fine. In total volume, that'd be 100 yards total. And if you think about it, when we're sprinting, there's going to be a lot more rest time than there is actual work time. So with 10 yards, maybe it's we'll just say 2 seconds for a normal person hasn't done it in a while. So it takes you 2 seconds, and then you're resting a minute. So you do 5 of those. You're 10 seconds total training time, 10 minutes rest. That's like that. So again, you want to be fully recovered so you can get full intent, full effort each time. But again, play with this as you get going, as you get competitive with your training buddies or whatever people you're training with. Yeah, you might push back, and that can bring out intensity too, is having training partners or timing them and things like that. There's different ways to do that. But yeah, two times a week, 3 times a week. I think kind of 3 is that hot spot, especially for like full intense speed where I'm at in my life. For me, I've been doing it for a few years now. I like 3 days a week. And again, it depends. You could do 4. You could do 5. Again, it's all about the dose. The dose is the poison or whatever that saying is. So you don't want to do too much. Maybe you're doing like 2 sprints a day every day. That, like, honestly, you got to figure out what works best for you. But I tend to think 2 to 3 times a week is a good number. Where to put them? Again, it's good if you can do them. Give yourself the legs a day off in between, or do something low activity, walking. A lot of coaches like tempo runs or something like that. it really depends. Again, there's no right or wrong way. I guess there's wrong ways to do it, and that's just burning yourself and doing way too much. Um, but again, resting and recovering. If you're getting good sleep, if your nutrition is on point, you're recovering, you're relaxing the rest of the time during the day. There's no reason why not you can't do sprinting more than 2 times a week, 3 times a week. But again, it doesn't mean you're going to go run 10 100-meter dashes every day of the week, because that's going to definitely burn you out. That's going to crush you. You probably won't be running much after that, or hamstrings won't be too good. Achilles will be screaming at you. So again, you got to figure out where you're at. Again, these are just general guidelines, but I think at least 2 to 3 times a week is good. Everything, like, because speed, I think, what is it? Every 3 days, I think, 3 to 4 days, I think speed starts to deteriorate. So if you train it more often, like that 3 times, like boom, like every other day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, or Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, something like that, or Thursday or Tuesday, Thursday. There you go. Then you're not taking too much time off in between, where you're just allowing that speed to kind of deteriorate. You're able to hit that speed again and train it again, that type of thing. So again, different ways to do it, but again, we're not overdoing it. We're not crushing ourselves in the name of speed training. Technically, you probably want less volume in terms of number of sets and distances and stuff like that, but you can hit it more often. So you don't want it to just do, I'm going to do it on Monday, and then I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to sprint again until a month from now, because that's not going to do much. You're going to take time. You can take time off. That's fine too. If you need more time off, sometimes that helps. You take a week, 2 weeks, a month off from sprinting, and you come back and you might not be fast right away, but you'll build right back into it pretty easily. Again, the bodies adapt. It's crazy what our bodies can do, but I like to say 2-3 times a week is always a good, solid number for sprinting. Again, I like to go like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, those types of things where you have that day off in between, and you're not like sprinting in between or doing any hard conditioning in between, because our goal is to get faster. Sprinting and speed training is going to help condition your body in the aerobic system. Yes, you can do some aerobic work. You can do some sub-maximal work too. That stuff works. I like to go play games or shoot hoops or just that type of thing, or just relax. You can do that too. It's totally fine. But again, how we program it. So I've done it too, where one day is an acceleration-based day. One day is a max speed day. One day is a change the direction agility day. That's a totally fine way to do it. So maybe Monday's your acceleration day, Wednesday's your top velocity day, and Friday's your change of direction day. I've also done it where I went 4 days a week and I did an acceleration day. Well, and the next day would be a change of direction, because change of direction agility days are typically you're not hitting the high speeds as much, so they're not as neurologically demanding. So boom, that can kind of help facilitate recovery. You take a day off, or regen day, that Wednesday. Thursday would be top max velocity day. Friday could be another change of direction agility day. So there's endless amounts of ways to do this, but typically those are some decent setups there. Again, adjust volume. I typically like to keep high days, like so when we're programming, I like to do sprints before I lift if I do, or on their own separate day. And again, I don't want to do a heavy leg workout. If I'm splitting them up, I don't want to do a heavy leg workout before the day I'm going to try and sprint. Again, this is kind of the best case. It's not always going to be perfect. Sometimes you're going to have that, and that's fine, especially if you're an athlete. Think of a baseball player. They're sprinting every day playing games, especially if they're good and getting on base and playing outfield or whatnot. They got to do things every day. They play baseball every day pretty much. And so it's not that's not ideal. That's not optimal. But that's just what the job calls for. So the body adapts is what I'm trying to say, and we don't need to unnecessarily purposely try to destroy it with doing too much and putting a heavy squat day with a ton of high volume leg workout right before a sprint day. You're probably not going to perform at your best because you're going to be sore and things like that. So that's why I like to do sprints on a separate day. Would it be maybe the sprint day first and then the leg day or a lifting day, or the sprints before a lower or upper body lift? It really does. I like them to do them before a lower body, just a lot of times, just because I like to get the higher intensity stuff and put it all in one day. Or if I have a baseball game, I like to do sprint stuff those days too, because again, try and consolidate most of that high intensity stuff on one day rather than have high intensity stuff every day, where I'm not, as I get older, it's tougher to recover. Yeah, when you're younger, you can recover a little bit better. But as I get older, it gets harder to recover and you got to do more work to recover. So yeah, sleeping, nutrition's got to be better, relaxing, that type of stuff. So it's not always high intensity every single day. Yes, sometimes that happens because life happens, but do the best we can to make sure a high. So a sprint before a lift, and I find that sprinting helps me lift. Then I don't have to do as many warm-up sets for the lifts and things like that, and it just has me feeling good, kind of coming off that high of that buzz of going fast, building into a sprint or going into a lift. So it could be a lower body. I like to do lower body again because I don't think upper body is high intensity neurologically speaking. Yes, heavy sets of bench or overhead press can get tough and demanding, but it's not as neurologically demanding as sprinting and like a heavy set of squats or something like that. So that's one way to do it. Either sprint on the same day as the lift, or a separate day, and typically not a day after. So maybe if you're doing that, you do a sprint day. If you're doing an upper lower split, then a lower body day, then upper body. Then you can do another sprint day, lower body, upper body. 2 days of sprinting there. That'd be good for you. That'd be a good setup there. I might be doing something like that soon once get into the colder weather and get into the indoor track, the Knowles Center again, because they open up at weird hour. They're not open until 6, and then it gets kind of time crunch with getting going there, coming back, getting everything set up there, coming back and lifting at the house, and but again, we make do with what we have to figure out what's best for our schedule, our life, and that can change throughout the year. Like I said, when I'm in the summers and I got more time, boom, I can do everything at once or in one session, and it typically doesn't take more than an hour and a half. But a lot of that time is rest and recovery. A lot of that time is setting up, measuring out the sprint distance, putting the timers out, making sure everything's good to go. So that's a lot of, honestly, what the workout is. A lot of time is that stuff. Because if I'm at a track or I'm running in the grass, I got to measure out the sprints. And sometimes I don't even do it. I just sprint. But if I'm timing something, I got to get that set up so I can have the distances so the times are consistent, where 10 yards is 10 yards and not 12 yards and we're just guessing it. So those types of things. So sprinting day, its own separate day, or I like to do them before the lift, because if you do it after lift, I've done it before. Again, things happen. It's not always perfect, not always ideal, but your legs are a little trashed, especially if you go in high intensity and lift with intent and lift heavy and make sure all that you're engaged in those lifts. And your legs are going to be a little tired after that, so your sprints aren't going to be as fast. And our goal is to get fast, so that's not the best to do it after a lift. So before the lift or on its own separate day, I like to think. And then again, you probably don't want that heavy lower body day before a sprint day. Just my general philosophy on that. But again, as far as you can do the acceleration day, you can do a max velocity day and agility day, or you can do another acceleration day. You can kind of mix and match and figure out what. I like to even do all of them at the same time because you can't do max velocity, like I said before, without acceleration. So technically you're doing that. So lately I've been doing everything each day. So a few accelerations kind of to build up, and then do some flying sprints. So some fly 10s into 20 yards, fly 10s into 30 yards, 20-yard flies, those types of things on different days. And then maybe a day of doing 30s and 40s. And like I said, my Saturdays I've been doing 100-meter sprints. So or 100-meter sprint after a few flying sprints. So, and then mixing in the change of direction. So typically you want to, again, with that thing at the high demanding, max velocity is the highest demanding sprinting because you're going as fast as you can. So typically you'd want to do that when you're freshest. Again, you got to get warmed up, and you can do some build-up sprints and things like that, bounds and hops and skips and stuff like that to get warm, or crawls, or whatever you need to do to get warm up. Play some basketball to get warmed up. Do some rhythmic bouncing to get warmed up. Do some build-up sprints to get ready so your legs are ready for those top sprints. But I typically would do the top sprints first as my main thing. And then if I'm going to do some agility or change of direction, I do that after, if I'm combining it all into one session. So that would be kind of how I would do that. I would prefer to do that. You can do contrast where maybe you're doing some weighted sprints. So you got a sled, or you're pushing a sled, or pulling a tire, or pulling a sled, or you're fortunate enough to have a 1080 machine. You got that. You can do that too. Contrast, so you do a resisted sprint, boom, take that off, take a little bit of rest, do an unresisted sprint, those types of things. So that contrast set as well can work. Or you can even do, what was I going to say? Just random sprints, like put up hurdles, boom, just do random hurdles, or roll the sprint. There's endless like starts. You don't have to do a stagnant start all the time where you're just coming from a 2-point stance, 3-point stance, 4-point stance. You could do whatever you want. Like I mix and match and do all this random stuff because I'm not training to be a Olympic sprinter. I just want to get fast. I want to do it from the transitions from rolling. The other day I was doing crawling into sprints. My times are fast, like fastest 20-yard times I've had, and it was in like Soldier Field crappy length grass. So the grass was probably 3-4 inches high over my shoes to my ankles, wet and slow. But my times are faster than they have been. I was doing 20 crawls with 10s, 20s, and 30s. So you just do a crawling start and right into that sprint. So that transition, you could sprint. Another favorite variation is you can do cartwheels into sprints. You can do, I like to sprint, jump over a hurdle, tumble, and then get up and sprint. So just mixing in all these different variations of how to get into sprinting, because if you're an athlete and you want to be athletic, you do these other athletic movements into sprinting, because that transition into sprinting, you're not always going to be just starting from a 2-point stance. So it's just, and it makes it more fun rather than just running in a straight line all the time. And other ways to make sprint fun, you do that, you get a partner, you train them, or you train with them, you race them, get a timing system. I have free lap. It's okay. It doesn't always seem to work. But sometimes it reads, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it catches reads too early and it says it took you 30 seconds to run a 10-yard sprint, which if you're doing that, then you're really, really slow. I'm not fast, but I'm not that slow. So you get those frustrations, the technological frustrations, and just, again, like changing up the variations, running different directions, different angles, different things, chase a ball, chase a frisbee. Again, mix and match and find what works best for you. But again, with programming sprints, main thing is don't do too much. Make sure you're getting enough recovery in between so they can be full effort, full intent. Find the amount that works for you as terms of a number of sets and reps. Again, err on the caution of less. With sprinting, usually less is more. Usually it's when I just almost beat that time. I want to get it faster. One more, and that's usually when something goes wrong. So if you hit like a PR, and if you're timing and you get a PR, that's probably a good time to say, great day, we can stop there. So that would be a great way to do that. Again, because more is not better with sprinting typically. Usually again, err on the side of less with sprinting. Other principles of sprinting, the general principles. Do them. I like to do them first because when you're freshest. So again, if you got taken after a day off, or split them into their own day, or do them before your lift. Typically not after. That's not going to get you the fastest. But again, time and a place. Nothing's set in stone. Training is a sandbox. You can do with it, make with it what you want. It is not what the book always tells you. But again, you got to play with it, find what works best for you. And I've always found that doing it while you're the freshest is the best. Sometimes you're not going to be fresh, and then you go do a few warm-ups, and then randomly you hit your best times. So again, you got to play with it and do with what you have. But again, you want sprinting to be full effort, full intent, and making sure you are recovered. Again, that 10 a minute per 10 yards is a rough estimate. Again, once you're more prepared, more in shape, more experienced with them, that's not necessarily the exact time. So you'll listen to your body and know when it's time to go and when it's time not to sprint, those type of things. But again, if you're in a sport, you got to go. When you got to go, so you got to prepare your body for that too. I typically said, like I said, 2 to 4 times is a good amount. There's no set way. You can split it up: acceleration, max velocity, change of direction, decel. You can do acceleration. You can do all of them. Training all aspects. Again, when you're training max velocity, you're training acceleration. So I tend to like to hit all of them. Again, lower microdosing, so to speak, more. So you're doing all of each one of them a little bit at each time you're sprinting. So that's what I find works for me. It's fun. It's enjoyable to do. When you hit a fly 10, you hit a max velocity speed, and then you do some change direction. Again, you can do that by just doing it by yourself if you train yourself like me, or you can do it with games and stuff, and racing and chasing and playing sports, because you're going to be sprinting. Yes, it might not be total max velocity, so you're going to want to hit that, and that's why I think max velocity training is great, because it can help reduce the risk of soft tissue injuries, but you want to make sure you're prepared for it too. So sprinting is going to help reduce the risk of soft tissue injuries. It's not going to prevent them, but it's going to make it. But if you're not ready for them, then that's when a lot of soft tissue injuries happen. So you got to make sure you're ready to sprint too. So preparing your body too. So easing your way into it. If you're not, and if you're more experienced, you've done it for a while, you probably have a good grasp of how your body is. So that's what I have for you guys. I know, probably not the best episode, a lot of mumbo jumbo, a lot of rambling there, but hopefully you took some points out of there that helped and can help you get back into sprinting, or keep sprinting, or in programming your sprinting. And if you need help with it, reach out. I train people, and I put sprinting in all their program, pretty much everyone's program, unless they're physically not able to do it or just have no interest in it. So I am with my training team. I sprint, so if you want to follow along with that, the link is in the bio. That's the most affordable way to work with me. We'll be training right along with me, and we can push each other, go with each other. And if you're in River Falls and want to train with me, let's go. I've been looking for training partners. Come to the home gym. We'll train there. We'll be sprinting outside, hopefully for a little bit longer. Hopefully this weather holds up. And if not, then we'll be at the Knowles Center here in the winter once it gets cool. And it can actually see, and it's not dark in the mornings, so you can actually see where you're running, which is a whole nother issue, but that's where we're at. So reach out, we'll get going. So thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.